Kevin are going to preview Saints Packers. Wish you happy Christmas and hope to God the Saints aren't embarrassed on Monday night. We'll have you covered for everything. Happy Christmas, everybody. Thomas, hit that intro.
Welcome to Saints Happy Hour podcast. We never skip a drink day.
Budrich wants to know how the doctor's doing.
That ended.
Now grab a drink and enjoy the show.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Saints Happy Hour podcast. I got Kevin with me. I got Thomas with me, running the show, back in Poland. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody watching. Kevin, Saints are playing the Packers.
Yeah.
And here's the thing with this game. I feel like this potentially is a holiday atrocity foisted upon America.
Potentially.
The Saints are a 13.5-point underdog. They won't have Alvin Kamara, and they won't have Derek Carr, and they won't have any wide receivers. And the Saints defense is the worst run defense by a lot of metrics in the NFL. And Green Bay is top 5 in almost any running metric you want to do. Outside zone, inside runs. So this could be a disaster. And you could have snow, which snow on December 23rd, that could be festive. So I'll start there. Do we want a snowdrift? Do we want a foot of snow? Does that even it up for the Saints? Does it make it more of a blowout? What do we feel about the snow, the Saints playing in the snow? How do we feel about it? Do we want it or do we not?
Listen, I'm dealing with we talked before the show started. I'm dealing with a cold. You're dealing with a cold. You look far better than I do.
You look dead.
But regarding the snow, everything you said is with the exception of does it even things out, is a yes. Like, it's going to make things worse for the Saints. It'll be nice and festive. Honestly, let it be a complete weather debacle. Give me the foot of snow. Give me the footage before the game of them with the leaf blowers trying to blow the snow off the lines so you can tell where the 40 and the 50 are and all that kind of stuff. Because most of us seem to think that the Saints are going to lose, and they're going to lose badly. So why not have a foot of snow on there, so that way there's at least a little bit of wiggle room to help explain why they were terrible. Yes, players up and down are injured. Starters on defense have been injured. Starters on offense are injured and out. But I just suspect that if it's just a light snowfall, people are still going to say, Rattler still should have done this, or these guys should have done this, or they could have still done that. And it's just, I would prefer, listen, if the Saints are going to lose and Rattler isn't going to look good, give me the excuse of there was legitimately a foot of snow on the field.
No, I need more than a foot. I need a snowdrift. I needed so much snow that you can't even see the game on your TV. I need.
Wasn't there a game like that earlier in the year?
Yeah, I need Cleveland, Cleveland, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Cleveland.
But worse.
Yeah,
Cleveland, Pittsburgh, but worse. I need that much snow. I need snowdrift. I need so much snow. It goes from a football game to a comedy event, because the 2024 Saints, I feel like their strength is not in football. It's mostly in getting injured and creating comedy. So that's what we need. We need a comedy event on Monday night. Because here's the thing. This Green Bay team is really good. They're 10-4. Yeah. Their rush per game is 7th. Their defense against the run is 8th. Like they're 7th in points scored, 8th in points allowed. Like Green Bay is legitimately a very good team. Green Bay, for people that watch us on YouTube regularly and listen to the podcast regularly, I have said this before. I've said this to Kevin. I don't know if I've said this on the show to you. They are the team that Kevin would want to build. They are built through the draft and through trade downs and that sort of thing. Like their team is ridiculously young and they got dudes all over the place that are draft picks that are like 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Like Tucker, the tight end, is the one that was a darling of yours. I remember his name every time I see him.
Tucker Kraft?
Tucker Kraft, right?
How do I remember that? How do I remember that? I don't remember what I did 3 days ago.
But you can remember.
But for some reason, I remember Tucker Kraft. He went to some small school.
Yeah. And
I know he went to a small college. It's like the logo is yellow and blue.
Yeah, he's like a Dakota. He's like raised by Indians, like legitimately.
Hang on. Tucker. Now I got to know. Now I've got to check. South Dakota State University. There we go. Okay.
So that's the thing with him, right? So that's how they're built. And the thing is, they're really good. The thing is, Jordan Love can get a little squirrely at times, and he'll make the throw that can either be a highlight throw on ESPN or a "What the hell are you doing, my man?"
Yeah.
So he'll give the Saints some chances. And here's the thing, Kevin, the Saints haven't created a turnover since Tyrann Mathieu intercepted the Falcons. That's the last turnover the Saints created. They've forced a couple of fumbles since then, but they haven't intercepted it. They haven't recovered any. So they're going on 5 weeks without a turnover. So like the one
this will be the 5th game.
The one thing the defense was kind of doing, even though it was bad, was creating turnovers, right? And it was kind of like that was kind of keeping them afloat and really helping them out.
Yeah,
that well has like dried up. So I'm the only thing I'll say is like I don't care how bad a team you are, like you don't go 4 or 5. Like you're gonna just fall, as I like to say, you're just gonna fall ass backwards into a turnover eventually. So maybe this game, Green Bay will turn the ball over 2 or 3 times and even it out. If I had to tell you how many turnovers, let's assume we get not a snowdrift that I want, but we get a wintry wonderland like you are hoping for. How many turnovers does Green Bay need to give the Saints for the Saints to have a legit shot to win the game?
Turnover, like interceptions, fumbles.
Interceptions, fumbles. You can caveat it however you want. Like you can say it's 3, but it's 2 that are like red zone. You can caveat it however you want. But how many turnovers? 4?
4.
I think probably minimum for the Saints to win, it's probably 3, and probably 2 of those turnovers have to be absolutely backbreaking for Green Bay. I'm talking like fumble a punt inside your 5, a pick 6, and then so like 2 of the turnovers lead to straight to 14 points. So that's like they did just gift the Saints 14 points. You get another touchdown drive from Rattler some kind of way. That gets you to 21. And then the third turnover is Jordan Love driving to tie or win the game. And they have the third turnover and lose. That would be, I think you need a minimum of 3 for Green Bay to lose this game. So this is an interesting game, Kevin, because we talked about it on the Zoom call, which, by the way, if you're not a patron of Saints Happy Hour, you should become a patron. We do a Zoom for patrons only every month. You get to talk to us. You get to ask us questions. You get to yell at us. We tell you behind the scenes stuff. It's great. It's amazing. You should join. Well, we did the December one, and I mentioned this. Listen, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, former LSU player, signed with the Saints. And of the 2019 LSU, greatest college football team ever, I understand that Joe Burrow was on the team. I understand Jamar Chase. I understand Justin Jefferson, all those guys. But he was my favorite. He's my favorite. He's one of my all-time favorite LSU players. And he's on the Saints now. I don't know what he has left, but if you give me a Clyde Edwards-Helaire 25-yard touchdown run in the snow in Green Bay, that will end my Saints season, and that'll make me very happy. So I'm excited to see how he does. And Kendra Miller running the ball. What do you think, sort of, as we get to strategy of this game? What do you think the Saints, what besides the basic stuff of like, don't turn the ball over, don't be a horrible tackling team, like don't be your normal self, Saints. But what do they need to like one thing? If I said to you, Kevin, I'm not gonna let you say Spencer Rattler can throw for 4 touchdowns, or they can do this, or have 8 turnovers to throw for 4 touchdowns, or all this stuff. If I said to you, you can have one aspect of the Saints game on Monday night, it'll be the best they do all year, what would it be? Run defense, run defense, pass defense, run offense, pass offense. If you guys said, Kevin, one of those things, or maybe special teams. If you want to be incredible on special teams, you can do that too. One facet of the Saints going to give you A+, best performance of the year.
See, before you said all that, I was just going to say control the clock. But if you're giving me those 4 options, I'll take the pass offense.
Ooh.
Because I would love to see. Because let me pull this up. The Saints have not hit 300 yards passing all year.
Yeah.
Carr got 269 in the win over Atlanta. That is the season high.
Mm-hmm.
Rattler's high was 243 in that first game against Tampa. So, yeah, if this means Rattler hits 300 yards passing, yeah, I'll take it.
See,
because it would show that he could get to it.
Yeah, see, I like that. Because
show me you can get it. If you can get it once, you can get it again.
Yeah, I like that pick because you're thinking like long term. Like I was thinking like, how do you win Monday? But I like your thinking, Kevin, because you're thinking Monday, if they win, that's not really, you hurt the draft stock, right? Winning Monday isn't that important. But if you got a really good passing game out of Spencer Rattler,
right,
we would feel incredible, right? We would
especially if he hit 300 yards throwing to Kevin Austin Jr.,
yeah,
Cedric Wilson, Dante Pettis. Like, if you get to 300 yards throwing to those guys, I don't care if the Saints get. I don't care if the Saints get jobbed out like somebody trying to fight Magnum TA back in 1986 NWA. I don't care.
Yeah.
You're throwing for 300 to those guys.
Yeah, and then we start to inch closer to what we all like. I feel like Saints Twitter and we fight with each other, but we all want the same thing. We know Derek Carr is not the guy, and we want to move off of him. There's just some of us that are like, listen, I need to see a little bit more before I'm ready to move off of Derek Carr. But if you
we need to see more out of. Listen, if you want to move off Derek Carr next year, then Spencer Rattler has to show out, as the kids say.
That's right.
Like, Spencer Rattler has to go off. Now, Spencer Rattler can play okay, and I'd still keep him on the 2025 team, but I would still keep Derek Carr as the starter. I know that's going to annoy people, but at that point, it's like, where's the stability and all that other kind of stuff? But whatever. Focus on the 3 weeks, the 3 games remaining. Spencer Rattler has to ball out. I'm fine keeping Spencer Rattler for the duration of his deal and keeping him on as a backup. And if he goes nuts, I'm fine rolling into 2025 and saying, all right, let's name him the starter and see what happens.
Yeah. But you got to show me for Spencer Rattler for me to be comfortable with him as the starter and for me to be wanting to buy season tickets, which I do continue. Like, you got to show me that you can be these next 2. You got to have 3 weeks of like competent offensive football throughout the game. You can't have this dreadful for 3 quarters. Spencer Rattler has one good drive. The other team has a bunch of penalties that lead to a couple field goals. No, like you gotta, like you said, like Spencer Rattler, you gotta look at him and be like, okay, he had 2 good drives in the first half, two good drives in the second half, and maybe a bunch of other stuff is like, well, he still took a bunch of sacks. He had that fumble. He had those 2, he had that bad throw in the red zone that was a pick against Green Bay. Those are things you can work on, but you can't have 3 quarters, Spencer Rattler, he's 5 for 20. The Saints have 80 yards of offense. You can't have that back-to-back weeks and be like, okay, we're going to go with Spencer Rattler in 2025. No. But I will say this is interesting about the Saints, Kevin, is that, and I wrote about this, I think Kubiak has done, I'm not going to say he's done an exceptional job and be like he's head coach material. I'm not going to say that. But the Saints, they are in rushing. They are 10th in rushing attempts. They are 11th in yards. So despite all the offensive line issues, right? The offense is kind of kept afloat, and it's been a pretty good holding it together by Kubiak in that, yes, they've looked awful when Rattler and Haener, when Rattler started his first 3 games and Haener against the Redskins. But otherwise, when they've had Carr and Rattler in the fourth quarter, it's looked okay. And I think you got to give Kubiak a ton of credit, because as a degenerate gambler, I look at these teams that are awful. Jaguars, Giants, Raiders on Monday night, that their offenses they don't function and they don't even look well coached. At least with the Saints, every week I say, okay, you got a plan. It doesn't always work.
Right.
But it looks competent. Like I looked at the Raiders with Desmond Ridder and I was like, I don't even know like what you're trying to do here, right? Like it was a disaster. The Giants for 3.5 quarters against the Saints was an abject disaster with Drew Lock, right? So my point is with Kubiak, how are you feeling? I'm feeling like pretty good. Like if Rizzi was the coach and he kept Kubiak, I'd be fine with it. Like I feel like Kubiak's been fine.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with Kubiak staying as the OC. I mean, presumably if they hire somebody else, maybe they would bring in their own, or they would want to hire their own guy. But I don't know. I don't have an issue with Kubiak. Like the guy just seems to call. He's mixed up enough trickeration, and he's tried doing things at the right time that just haven't worked out. Like there have been a number of trick plays. It's not that they get snuffed out. It's that a ball either gets overthrown or the receiver just can't hang on to it or something like that.
And even the trick play that worked with Cedric, it took Alvin Kamara doing a ridiculous catch and hurting himself to make it work.
Right. But yeah, I don't have any problem with
Here's an interesting thing, and I want to thank Donnie, a patron who DM. He's kind of, he lurks in the Discord, but he DM'd me and he DMs me and we talk about stuff. And he made an interesting point. And he said to me, Ralph, listen, he said, I know people want Spencer Rattler to play well, and I know there's something innate with like Saints fans. We say we don't care if they win, but then the game starts and we're like, we'll win, go beat Green Bay, right? And his thing was, he's like, I want this defense to continue to be atrocious the last 3 weeks. And he says, I want it to get worse. And his reasoning was this. He said, I'm afraid that Mickey Loomis is looking for reasons to make the easy decision and the comfortable decision and keep everything together. He wants to bring Rizzy back. And he says he's not against bringing Rizzy back per se, but he's very afraid that if the Saints defense somehow got it together and played really well for 3 weeks, which it's a veteran group, right? It's Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, a bunch of veteran guys. Like, they might be washed, but the veteran guys can always like rally up and play good for 3 weeks. His fear would be the Saints would say, if the defense played well for 3 weeks, they would say, oh, the defense, we went to Green Bay and held Green Bay to 90 yards rushing, and we won the game. We held a terrible Raider team to 160 yards of offense. We went to Tampa and did okay. We're turning the corner. As soon as we get healthy, we could bring all these guys back. We're not that far off. And his point is, they're old. They're going to be a year older next year. His point was, they got to clean out this defense, and he doesn't want them to have an excuse to not rip it apart. And I hate feeling that way, but in part of me, I agree with him a little bit in that I don't want the Saints to fool themselves into Cam Jordan. I don't want them to fool themselves into Saunders and the defensive tackles and that sort of thing. Like, they need massive changes there. And so I'm not saying that I'm rooting for it like Donnie, but if Green Bay is going to run for 250 yards and Tampa is going to run for 250 yards, it won't be the worst thing because the Saints ain't going to the playoffs. And one less data point where they can trick themselves might be okay.
So what is the question for me then?
The question for you is, do you want the old guys to have one more moment for the Saints and be good this last month? Cam Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu, all these older guys on the defense, Demario Davis. Do you want them to be good? Do you want to feel good about the old guys playing well these last 3 weeks? Or are you like Donnie? You're like,
well, you said
I need him to be terrible because I need him to get up out of here.
Sorry about that. On the Zoom call, there was a question of if you could have somebody who is currently on the team play exceptionally well the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And they would stick around for 2025. My initial inclination was to say Cam Jordan, followed by Tyrann Mathieu. And it was all related to draft stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I still think the Saints have to look at drafting Cam Jordan's successor, and they probably should do that this year instead of waiting to see what happens next year. And we've talked about this, or I think you guys have talked about it, either on the Big Show or maybe in our group texts or whatever, that maybe Cam would restructure his contract a little to help the team out. Get sort of you retire as a Saint, but you've helped us out financially.
Well, his contract, his cap hit is big, but his guaranteed money is low. So, like, the Saints only owe him $1.5 million for next year guaranteed. So, like,
right.
So they can make him take a pay cut, and he can either accept it, and they can cut him, and then the dead money comes due. But that's from the guarantees of the contract earlier. Like, they're not going to actually be paying Cam Jordan a lot of money next year, whether he's on the team or not.
Right, but the cap hit is still going to be like.
That's right.
Like, that's my concern.
That's it. Like, they could probably come to some agreement where they pay him instead of him making like $18 million or whatever he makes now, he could make like $5 million, and it would be more. It'd be more money than maybe he would make at TV if he wants to play and give the Saints some relief. But it just sort of pushes out the the money that the dead money that'll come on the cap. It'd push it out again one more year, which is the Saints MO. But it's interesting. It's interesting you bring up defensive line.
But I'm sorry. So your question, though, the original question was related to, should we root for the old guys to just look bad, or should we just root for the like? I'm doing the Minority Report thing in my head where I'm moving things around. Hang on, I got to make sure I'm staying in my little rectangle here instead of because I'm looking at my box where it's huge. So you know, you're moving everything around like this. Now I look like I'm doing the Thriller dance. We're assuming that Mickey is going to want to take the easy out, which I guess is easy to assume with Loomis.
Mm-hmm.
So really it comes down to Mickey Loomis realizing that, hang on, we're not just let's get everybody healthy again, or we're one extra player away. It requires the front office, management, ownership, or whatever to realize, hang on, this team has a lot of holes that need to be filled.
Mm-hmm.
Take that out of context. That need to be repaired or fixed. And it's not something that can be done in one off season or one draft.
Yeah. And
I feel weird rooting for specifically singling out and saying, oh man, I hope Cam Jordan doesn't do well, or Ty Matthew, or Demario Davis, or
it's weird though. People
I would rather say I hope the defense collectively doesn't do well instead of saying one player.
Yeah, that's fair.
Especially because like none of these got like Cam Jordan has had his moments this year. Tyrann Mathieu has had some moments this year. Demario Davis has had some moments this year. And it just feels weird saying, well, I hope they shit the bed the rest of the way so the team can jettison them or whatever.
It's hard because here's the thing.
I would rather just just make a business decision. Just make a business decision. I don't need them to root. I don't want to root for Cam Jordan to look terrible. Or anything like that. I would rather Mickey Loomis or management have the courage of their convictions to say, Cam, here's an offer for you. If you don't like it, we understand. But then we got to move on and all that other kind of stuff. And you know, best of luck on TV and all that kind of stuff.
It's easy to say in theory, and I say this as a crazy Saints fan my whole life, 48. It's easy to say here, as we wait for the game Monday night. Probably people maybe at work, you're not really working. The holidays are almost here. It's the 23rd, and you're watching, you're scanning YouTube, and you're working. You found us, and you're watching us, and thank you for finding us. And you're just waiting for the Saints game. You're waiting for the holidays and all that. It's fun. Christmas is here, and you're sitting at your desk, and you're thinking, yeah, that's a good idea. If the Saints, they get their head kicked in by Green Bay, that's good. That'll be good for the Saints and long term, and I'm fine with that. And it's good. But here's the thing, Kevin. Monday night comes, and you look up, and Spencer Rattler drove the Saints 80 yards, and Tyrann Mathieu picked up a fumble, and it's 14-3. And there's a foot of snow on the ground. You just automatically, as a Saints fan, you're going to get locked in, and you're going to go, you know what? Let's win this game, and let's ruin Green Bay's Christmas. And there's something in me that'll happen even at the end of the game. If the Saints are going into the fourth quarter, it's 20-13. All this stuff of, we need the defense to be bad. We need to get all these old guys out of here. All that'll be out the window. And I'll be like, Demario, make me a play, baby. Cam Jordan, make me a play. Get me that 6th win. Because it's like in my DNA, I cannot, like once the game starts and it's competitive, I can't turn it off. My emotional connection to the Saints,
the desire to see the desire to see them win. That's
right. I can't turn it off. And even if you during the moment, if you said, listen, they get to 6 wins, they might pick 12 or 13 or 14 instead of 10 or 8. Ralph, this win is meaningless. This means nothing. But I'll be like, it's snowing. It's fun. Let's get this win. So like, I'm a complete hypocrite where in a vacuum, it all sounds
Sports
good.
fans in general tend to be hypocrites.
That's right.
Being a sports fan, part of being a sports fan, part of being a fan of anything in entertainment or distractions requires a certain level of hypocrisy. It just does.
Here's the final thing before we get to the decision whether me and you are going to change our pick. And I was thinking about this.
Not exactly a cliffhanger, folks. I'll spoil that for you right now.
Not exactly a cliffhanger, but this made me a little bit sad. And I've decided how I'm going to do this is, listen, this Monday night game, kids, it might be the last Saints Monday night game for a while. Like, the days of the Saints being on Monday Night Football, they were on 2 times this year, and a couple, even post Peyton, they've been on a couple times a year every year. And Drew Brees, they were on 4 or 5 times. This might be the last Monday Night Football game for a while, Kevin. So I know people hate the pregame show, but I'm gonna soak it in. Because I really believe that, like the Saints, I think it's going to, even if they hire the right coach, it might be a couple years out before they're on Monday Night Football, right? And, the Saints aren't a big market. So like the Giants, even though the Giants are dreadful, even though the Raiders are dreadful, like they're always going to be on Monday Night Football a couple of times because they're brands.
Right.
So this is the last Monday Night Football game, so I'm gonna soak it in and enjoy it. It's fun. Although I would say Monday Night Football because they have Thursday night and Sunday night and Christmas games and all that stuff. I would say Monday Night Football, and I know this is gonna make me sound incredibly old, but it doesn't have the magic that it once did. Like it's not as huge of a deal.
It hasn't. It hasn't had the magic since it jumped to ESPN. Like, the magic took a mass... Part of the joy of Monday Night Football was that it was on over-the-air TV.
Yeah.
That was a giant component of the magic. Putting it on basic cable took away a big part of that.
Yeah. And
having Sunday Night Football show up took away a big chunk of that. Then having Thursday Night Football took another chunk out of it. It's just so the magic, and then plus allowing Sunday Night Football to become the flagship of the NFL week, as it were.
Yeah.
Like the league itself has told you.
Yeah, it's not.
That Monday Night Football is not important anymore. Redoing the theme song over and over and whatever and all the weird intros. Again, the magic has been chunked away and then chipped away and chipped away and chipped away, and so now we're just left with it's Monday night.
I have a theory, Kevin, and shoot it down, and then we'll get out of here.
All right.
I do a lot of weird stuff. I watch a lot of YouTube.
That can be interpreted so many different ways.
It can be. I do a lot of weird stuff. And one of the weird things I do is I watch a lot of old YouTubes. I watch a lot of old intros to football games. Not just Monday night.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But intro, because
that's not weird.
One thing I'm trying to I had the intro to the Saints-Vikings game from 1987, the playoff game. I had it on my phone, and I got it off of YouTube, and I made it.
What was that, 44-10?
Yeah, the Saints lost, but the intro with Pat Summerall is just amazing.
Yeah.
And I was trying to find it, and I can't. And I want to find it and make it a ringtone on my phone, and I can't. But so I'm always searching for it, and I'm looking for other intros. And the thing that I've learned is now these networks, they always want to do like a fancy intro with a celebrity and a new music and all this. Like the best intros were Brent Musburger doing NBA intro, where it's just Brent Musburger talking, Pat Summerall talking over a pop
Keith Jackson
song.
talking.
or over, Pat Summerall did. It's one, he does an intro where he's got Guns N' Roses November Rain playing behind him, and you would think that would be hilariously bad with Pat Summerall introducing Cowboys, Giants with November Rain playing behind
the Cowboys.
But it's amazing, and it's just simple. It's just get a person with a really good voice and some music behind them, simple music or a pop song, and just kind of play it low, write it up real good, and that's the best thing. But these Monday night intros, they get bangs and fireworks and new celebrities and live music and all that. It's too much. Like,
and trotting out the corpse of Hank Williams Jr.
Yeah, like just do it simple, and it would work. But that's my thing. So I've watched thousands of intros. And by the way, if you find the Saints 1987 Vikings playoff game intro, put it in the comments or send it to me. I'd really appreciate it. So fine, let's get out of here. Kevin, Saints Packers.
I'm not changing it. I think I said 30-13 or something.
Yeah.
31-13, something like that. So
yeah,
I'm sticking with that.
I would say.
No, I think I said 10.
You said.
I think I said 10. So I think Spencer Rattler will lead the team down on a touchdown drive, and we'll get something nice out of it like that. But yeah.
So right now, it's up to 14.5. I mean,
that's tempting. It really is tempting. Because look, if there really is a lot of snow, the Packers could just run the ball and control the clock, like get 40 minutes of the clock and just put up like 21 points.
That's right.
And the Saints could still get 10.
Yeah.
Something like that.
You could have think of it this way. If it's 14, it's 14.5 or 14 in some place. Like Green Bay, they get to 24 points, but they have one turnover that gives the Saints seven. Spencer Rattler has one decent drive to get him 3. 24-10, Green Bay doesn't cover. If you got 14.5, you win. So Vegas is always magical making the number, right? That's what they get paid to do, to get the number exactly. I will say this. I think this game, the Saints, it's going to be a lot like the Broncos game was Thursday night, where the Broncos, within a quarter, you realize the Broncos, they're winning this game. And the Saints they don't really have a prayer. But at halftime, it was only 13-3. And it's going to be one of those games where the Saints are going to linger, and it's not going to be bad enough for you to turn it off and go to bed. But they're just going to linger and hang around, and you'll be like, if they could just make a play, get it close, kind of know. But that's what it's going to be. So I'm not changing my pick. I said 20.
Hanging around.
I never said hanging around. So he
has alligator blood.
I think
Why you were going to get that. Ralph clearly doesn't get the reference, but that's fine.
I'm going to say it's going to be 27-10, but it'll be one score into the third quarter. So the Saints will linger around.
So 17-10 into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 17-10 into the fourth quarter. It'll be the Saints will be lingering. And it'll be, so we'll see. But guys, thanks for finding us wherever you found us. Subscribe to our channel. It really helps us. And
it helps afford cough medicine is what it does.
It does.
I need more throat coat.
Yeah, and make sure to give us a like, leave a comment for the algorithm. It's a great way to support the show for free. And if you like what you saw, consider going to Patreon. Go to patreon.com/SaintsHappyHour. We have all kinds of Christmas specials running, and Thomas is going to put the link in the comments where Hardhide, Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey, they're giving away 15 2-month subscriptions to our silver level for free. All you got to do is click on the link, Hardhide, boom, they're covering it. You get to try us out for 2 months. Thanks to them. So for Kevin, for Thomas, I'm Ralph. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you live on YouTube after Saints Packers Monday night. Until then, the bar is closed.